the First Indo-Pakistani War of 1947–48 failed to resolve the ongoing dispute between India and Pakistan over Jammu and Kashmir. By the end of that conflict, India controlled most of the princely state. A United Nations resolution brought an end to the fighting in 1948, but both countries violated its terms. Pakistan never fully withdrew its forces from Jammu and Kashmir, while India did not hold the promised plebiscite. This left the door open for another conflict, which eventually broke out in 1965. Alliances and militarization. After the partition of British India and the initial Kashmir conflict, both nations focused on state building, including shaping their foreign policies. Pakistan aligned itself with the Western Bloc, signing the Mutual Defense Assistance Agreement with the United States in 1954 and joining both SEATO, led by the US, and CENTO, led by Britain. As a result, Pakistan received over $1 billion worth of military aid, including Patton tanks, F-86 Sabre jets, F-104 starfighters, M113 armored personnel carriers, and British-supplied Centurion tanks and Hawker Sea Fury aircraft. India, in contrast, adopted a policy of non-alignment, which initially limited its military modernization. The 1962 Sino-Indian War exposed the weaknesses of India's military. In response, India turned to the Soviet Union for support, acquiring MiG-21 fighter jets, T-55 tanks, and air defense systems. Relations with China remained hostile, especially as Pakistan and China grew closer due to their shared rivalry with India. Meanwhile, the US also began supplying India with limited aid, including C-119 transport aircraft and artillery, while France provided Uragan and Mystère 4 fighter planes. Despite these developments, diplomatic efforts to resolve the Kashmir issue were unsuccessful. India moved to integrate Jammu and Kashmir further into its union, while Pakistan remained committed to changing the status quo. Internal tensions also flared. In December 1963, the theft of a religious relic from the Hazrat Bal Mosque in Srinagar sparked widespread unrest. In a rare diplomatic gesture, India released popular Kashmiri leader Sheikh Abdullah in April 1964 and sent him to Pakistan to seek a peaceful resolution. However, Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's death in May 1964 ended any real hope of a breakthrough. By 1965, the mood in Pakistan had shifted to a sense of urgency. Believing India was vulnerable following Nehru's death and still militarily inferior, Pakistan's leadership felt it was a now-or-never moment to seize Kashmir. Their initial victory in the Rann of Kutch in April 1965 further emboldened this thinking. On August 5, 1965, Pakistan launched Operation Gibraltar, infiltrating thousands of irregular fighters across the ceasefire line into Indian-administered Kashmir. Indian sources estimated the number at 30,000 to 40,000, while Pakistani accounts claim only 5,000 to 7,000 were involved. The goal was to incite an uprising among Kashmir's Muslims and seize key infrastructure. However, this assumption proved incorrect. No local rebellion materialized, and many infiltrators were captured. The failure of this operation gave the Indian army the upper hand. Pakistan escalates. Operation Grand Slam. Determined to regain momentum, Pakistan initiated Operation Grand Slam on September 1st, targeting Aknor, a strategic town in southern Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan's 12th Infantry Division and 1st Armored Division quickly gained ground, aided by their technologically superior US-supplied Patton tanks. However, the momentum was lost when President Ayub Khan controversially replaced General Akhtar Ali Malik with General Yahya Khan, creating confusion and delay. This gave India time to regroup and counterattack, halting Pakistan's advance. On September 6th, India launched a major offensive into Pakistan's Punjab province, aiming to capture Lahore, weaken Pakistan's military, and shift the war's focus. The attack was spread across 3 fronts. Northern Axis, from Amritsar toward Lahore, led by the 15th Infantry Division. Central Axis, from Kalra to Burki, by the 7th Infantry Division. Southern Axis, from Khem Karan to Kasur, by the 4th Mountain Division. India made early gains, but logistical issues and Pakistani resistance led to a temporary withdrawal from the outskirts of Lahore. However, Indian forces succeeded in the central sector, capturing Burki on September 11th after overcoming Pakistani counterattacks. Battle of Asal Uttar, Pakistan's counteroffensive fails. Meanwhile, Pakistan's 1st Armoured Division launched a counter-offensive toward Khem Karan, initially capturing it on September 8th. Indian forces withdrew to Uttar, laying mines and flooding fields to trap Pakistani tanks. In one of the largest tank battles since World War II, India's ambush destroyed over 100 Pakistani tanks, compared to about 30 Indian losses, marking a turning point and a decisive Indian victory. The battle for Sialkot and Chawinda, India, next targeted Sialkot, a vital rail and road hub. On September 8th, Indian forces crossed into Pakistan, leading to the Battle of Philora on September 10th. India's multi-pronged assault, supported by Centurion tanks and heavy artillery, overwhelmed Pakistani defenders. The Pakistani 6th Armoured Division retreated to Chawinda, where a massive tank battle ensued between September 14th to 18th. Despite India's efforts to outflank and break Pakistani lines, the 25th Cavalry's fierce resistance held firm. Over 160 tanks were destroyed in just 4 days. This intense engagement ended India's advance, and with both sides suffering heavy losses, the war shifted toward stalemate. Diplomatic resolution and aftermath. Amid growing international pressure, both the United States and the Soviet Union pushed for an end to hostilities. On September 20th, the UN Security Council passed Resolution 211 calling for a ceasefire, which took effect on September 23rd. On January 10, 1966, Indian Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri and Pakistani President Ayub Khan met in Tashkent, USSR, and signed the Tashkent Agreement, agreeing to withdraw their forces to pre-war positions. India had advanced deeper into Pakistani territory, including reaching the outskirts of Lahore, while Pakistan had gained some ground in Kashmir and inside Indian territory. Still, the war ended in a military stalemate. Conclusion. Although India maintained the strategic initiative and repelled Pakistan's attempts to alter the status quo in Jammu and Kashmir, the conflict did not produce a decisive resolution. Pakistan's military advantage in equipment did not translate into battlefield success, and the Kashmir issue remained unresolved, setting the stage for future confrontations. This concludes our deep dive into the 1965 Indo-Pakistani War. Stay tuned for the next episode in our series on South Asian conflicts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to follow along.